Hello, everyone. Today, we'll explore a story filled with mystery and emotion. This is the case of a young girl who went out to meet her father and then disappeared without a trace. Her parents immediately reported her disappearance to the police, and detectives embarked on an unexpected journey of discovery. The investigation quickly became as complex as a detective show, with shocking evidence and extraordinary efforts. In the end, the truth was revealed, a truth that left everyone stunned. Jessica is not an unfamiliar name to those who know this story. She was born on June 22, 1986, in Altamonte Springs, Florida. Jessica grew up in a loving family with an older brother, a younger sister, and devoted parents. Her father, a construction worker, often traveled for work, leaving the children at home with their mother. Jessica was a cheerful, energetic child who loved nature and had a special passion for animals. April 5, 1996, was the day that forever changed Jessica's family. At the time, she was only 9 years old. That day, Jessica's family was preparing to visit her grandparents to celebrate Easter. Her father went out to shop for the holiday, while her mother was busy packing at their apartment. After returning from school with her group of friends, Jessica asked for her mother's permission to play outside while waiting for her father. Their apartment complex was in a quiet area, away from main roads and surrounded by trees, which made her mother believe Jessica would be safe. The neighborhood children, including Jessica, often played in the courtyard without constant adult supervision. Everything seemed normal until that fateful evening. Around 6 p.m., Jessica's father returned home from shopping and asked his wife where Jessica was. His question surprised her, as she believed Jessica was outside waiting for him. However, her father insisted that Jessica was not there. As anxiety grew, the couple rushed outside to search the playground but found no sign of Jessica. Their worry turned to fear as they began asking neighbors, hoping someone had seen their daughter. One neighbor recalled seeing Jessica earlier, sitting on a bench and reading a book. However, this detail didn't provide much help, as darkness fell and Jessica remained missing. With no other choice, Jessica's parents called the police. Within minutes, officers arrived at the scene, launching a search and interviewing neighbors in the area. Despite their best efforts, Jessica was nowhere to be found. The search expanded to nearby streets, but the result was still the same: no sign of Jessica. A few hours later, an unexpected call came into the police dispatch center. The caller's voice was muffled by background noise, but what the dispatcher heard sent chills down everyone's spine. They'll find the missing girl near a water pumping station a few miles from her home. Police rushed to the scene. What they encountered was heartbreaking. Jessica's lifeless body was found near the pumping station, hidden in a black trash bag. The station was tucked beneath a bridge, just a few meters from the road, making it hard to spot from the outside. Near the body, investigators found some magazines and a small child's mirror. The police quickly identified the victim as Jessica. News of this discovery left the entire neighborhood in shock, and the investigation entered a new and intense phase. After turning Jessica's body over to the medical examiner's office, detectives focused on tracing the mysterious 911 call. Clearly, the call could have come from the killer, and police hoped it would provide a crucial lead to identify the perpetrator. However, the first challenge arose when they discovered that the call was made from a payphone at a gas station less than a mile from the crime scene. By the time police arrived, the suspect had already fled. Detectives worked to lift fingerprints from the payphone, but it was no simple task. As a public phone, it bore countless fingerprints, complicating the effort to isolate those of the suspect. Investigators also theorized that the killer might have wiped the phone clean after calling or used gloves to avoid leaving prints. Meanwhile, forensic experts concluded that Jessica had not been killed at the scene. Her body had been moved to the pumping station. Ground marks near the station indicated the killer had dragged Jessica's body out of a vehicle, placed it in the trash bag, and then dragged it across the ground. When the body was found, Jessica's clothing was intact except for one missing shoe, which was not located in the bag or anywhere nearby. The only clue police retrieved at the scene was a tire mark on the ground. Although they couldn't confirm it belonged to the killer's vehicle, they photographed and cast the imprint for later analysis. The medical examiner's report revealed that Jessica had been strangled to death with bare hands, as indicated by bruises on her neck and face. Notably, her stomach contained a hamburger she had eaten less than an hour before her death. Jessica's mother confirmed she had not given her daughter any such food that day, leading police to believe the hamburger had been provided by the killer. Moreover, there were no signs of sexual assault, making the killer's motive even more perplexing. Initially, police suspected that Jessica's parents might have been involved in the crime, as neither had a solid alibi at the time of her disappearance. The mother stated she was at home packing, while the father was out shopping. Theoretically, both had the opportunity to commit the crime. A pressing question emerged. How could the killer have taken Jessica from the playground without anyone seeing or hearing her cry out? This led police to believe the perpetrator might have been someone Jessica knew, someone she trusted enough to leave with willingly. Jessica appeared to have left voluntarily with her killer. One factor supporting this theory was the tone of the killer during the 911 call. Despite the recording being enhanced for clarity, experts detected a tone of sadness and remorse in the caller's voice, as though they genuinely regretted their actions. The fact that the killer risked calling 911 also revealed much about their state of mind. They might have been seeking the thrill of toying with the police or manipulating the investigation. Or they might have felt genuine remorse and wanted to ease their guilt. After careful consideration, investigators leaned toward the latter theory. During the investigation, police inspected Jessica's father's car and found a notable detail in the trunk: a roll of black trash bags similar to the one used to conceal Jessica's body. However, forensic analysis quickly determined that the bag at the crime scene was different from those in the car. This evidence cleared Jessica's father as a suspect, and investigators shifted their focus elsewhere. Forensics continued examining Jessica's clothing and body for clues. They discovered a significant amount of dog hair on her clothes. Even though Jessica's family didn't own a dog, investigators believed the hair belonged to the killer's dog. Additionally, human hair found on Jessica's body belonged to an unidentified white male. Forensic experts began extracting DNA from the samples, a process that would take several days. 2 types of foreign fibers were also found on Jessica's clothing. Analysis revealed that one type likely came from car seat covers, while the other originated from carpeting. This supported the theory that Jessica had been killed at a different location and her body transported to the water pumping station by car. Another key discovery involved identifying the dog breed from the hair found on Jessica's clothing. Using the FBI's database of microscopic dog hair samples, forensic experts systematically eliminated various breeds. Ultimately, they determined the hair came from a Shar-Pei. This suggested that the killer owned such a dog, and its hair had transferred to Jessica's clothing in the killer's car or home. From the evidence gathered, investigators theorized that the killer lured Jessica into their car, possibly by inviting her to get food. They likely took her to a McDonald's, where she ate the hamburger found in her stomach, and then brought her to their home, where the murder occurred. These details painted a chilling picture of Jessica's final hours, but many questions remained unanswered as investigators continued to unravel the case. After bringing Jessica home, the killer ended her life. Meanwhile, forensic experts continued working to enhance the 911 call recordings quality. The task proved incredibly challenging, prompting them to explore alternative approaches. Investigators reached out to NASA, whose advanced technology, originally designed to process recordings from space, could improve audio clarity. NASA agreed to assist and provided the police with a clearer version of the audio. To identify the suspect, forensic specialists needed a voice sample for comparison. Assuming the killer was someone Jessica knew, detectives played the enhanced 911 recording for her mother, hoping she would recognize the voice. Initially, Jessica's mother stated that the voice sounded familiar but couldn't recall whose it was. Upon a second listen, she identified it as belonging to a neighbor from their apartment complex. While she couldn't remember his name, she noted that the man often walked a Shar-Pei dog in the courtyard. Based on this lead, police quickly identified the neighbor as 35-year-old James Crow. He had been interviewed along with other residents shortly after Jessica's disappearance. At the time, James stated he had seen Jessica at the playground while walking his dog. He claimed they exchanged a few words before he left. Further investigation into James' background revealed no prior criminal record. He lived with his wife, a nurse, and was unemployed after previously working as a truck driver. Most of his time was spent walking around the neighborhood with his Shar-Pei, named Pumpkin. Although the similarities between the voice on the recording and James, as well as his ownership of a Shar-Pei, raised suspicion, these factors alone were insufficient for an arrest. Detectives obtained a warrant to search James' vehicle, uncovering evidence that heightened their doubts. Under the front passenger seat, police found an empty McDonald's Happy Meal bag. This discovery was suspicious because Jessica had eaten a McDonald's hamburger shortly before her death, and James did not have children who might have accounted for the bag. Another red flag was James' recent tire replacement on the day of Jessica's disappearance. The new tire appeared barely used, while the old tires were still in good condition and could have lasted several more years. James claimed to have left the old tires at a repair shop, a decision investigators found unusual. These details led detectives to suspect that James was hiding something. They intensified their efforts, determined to uncover the truth and bring the real perpetrator to justice. Despite the intact condition of James' old tires, he had left them at a repair shop. When police examined the shop, they found only one remaining tire. Investigators compared the tread pattern on this tire to the tracks found near Jessica's body, but the results did not match. This unexpected twist cast doubt on whether the tire tracks at the scene were left by the killer's vehicle, as maintenance vehicles or other cars in the area could also have created similar tracks. The investigation continued with a search of James' apartment, yielding another notable discovery: a box containing multiple rolls of black trash bags identical in size and color to the one used to conceal Jessica's body. However, this evidence wasn't conclusive, as the bags were a common type available at many stores and lacked distinctive features. Faced with this challenge, the detectives began investigating the origin of the garbage bags. They contacted N.L. Roberts, a quality control specialist at the company that manufactured the trash bags found in James' apartment. Roberts quickly identified the specific factory where these bags were produced, thanks to a unique code printed on the box containing the bag rolls. The bags were produced at a facility in Virginia. What stood out was that the production process for these trash bags was not uniform. Roberts explained that depending on the color of the bags, a small amount of iron or titanium was added to the raw materials. Since the factory produced bags in various colors, the ratio of plastic, iron, and titanium constantly changed. These small, daily variations were difficult to measure with 100% accuracy. This resulted in a unique chemical signature for each production batch. Using this information, detectives had the opportunity to compare the chemical composition of the trash bag from the crime scene with those found in James' apartment. This could be a breakthrough in the investigation, helping the police get closer to identifying the true perpetrator. Experts employed advanced analytical techniques to compare the trash bags from the suspect's apartment and those found at the crime scene. By directing high-intensity X-rays at the bag samples, they measured the ratios of iron and titanium in the plastic with great precision. The results revealed that the proportions of these two elements were identical in both bags, proving that they were manufactured on the same day and from the same production batch. But the surprises did not end there. During the manufacturing process, tiny microscopic fragments often stuck to machinery, creating distinct streaks on the bag surfaces. These streaks, although not affecting the quality of the product, formed a unique pattern for each roll of bags. Since the fragments on the conveyor belts shifted constantly, this pattern remained consistent only over a limited distance of a few hundred feet. This meant that if two bags had identical patterns, they were not only from the same batch, but were also produced within hours of each other. When experts compared the patterns on the bags from James' apartment with those found at the crime scene, they matched with absolute precision. But there was another detail. The process of rolling the bags post-production was not perfect. Small creases and wrinkles formed during this process, creating unique patterns on the edges of the bags. Upon close examination, experts found that these creases also matched between the crime scene bag and the ones from James' apartment. They concluded that the bag used to wrap Jessica's body was most likely taken directly from James' apartment, with the rolls of bags being separated by only about 17 boxes. The investigation didn't stop with the trash bags. Forensic analysts also compared two strange fibers found on Jessica's clothing with samples from the carpet in James' apartment and the upholstery in his car. The results showed a perfect match, further supporting the theory that Jessica was murdered in this environment. Finally, audio experts analyzed the 911 call recording, comparing the caller's voice with James' voice samples. The results revealed a significant match, bringing the police closer to confirming James as the perpetrator. Although all the evidence fell within the realm of circumstantial proof, the detectives were confident in James' involvement and decided to arrest him. When apprehended, James continued to deny any wrongdoing. But the prosecution was undeterred. They announced their intention to pursue the death penalty and brought the case to trial. At trial, the prosecution presented a scenario of how the crime unfolded. James, who regularly walked his Shar-Pei dog named Pumpkin and was well known and trusted by all the neighborhood children, was no exception to Jessica. On that fateful day, James was reportedly walking his dog when he saw Jessica sitting alone on a bench. He struck up a conversation and lured her with a promise of buying her a hamburger at McDonald's. Trusting James, Jessica agreed to go with him. After leaving the restaurant, James might have taken Jessica back to his apartment and invited her inside. Carpet fibers found on Jessica's clothing matched the carpet in James' living room, indicating that she had been there on the day of the murder. Investigators believed James may have attempted to assault the girl, but something went wrong. The forensic report showed that Jessica was strangled with bare hands, with the perpetrator pressing his palm against her face. It's possible that Jessica tried to scream, causing James to panic and kill her. After the victim died, James placed her body into a trash bag and transported it to his car without drawing attention from neighbors. He drove a few miles, leaving the body near a water pump station, then called 911 from a nearby gas station before returning home. At the preliminary hearing, James' defense attorney tried to challenge every piece of evidence presented by the prosecution. They argued that there were no direct witnesses and that all conclusions were based on circumstantial evidence, such as the trash bag, carpet fibers, and the voice on the call. Nevertheless, the prosecution remained confident that they had enough evidence to convict James. The case became a focal point, not only because of the brutality of the crime, but also because of the way scientific evidence was used to reconstruct the story. However, the big question remained: would the circumstantial evidence be enough to bring James Crow to a final conviction? In James Crow's case, there was no direct evidence of his guilt, although the circumstantial evidence had been accepted by the judge. However, the defense was right to emphasize that in capital cases, the standard of evidence is much higher. This gave James a significant chance to avoid a death sentence. Given this context, a plea deal was offered. Under the terms, James would plead guilty to second-degree murder and serve a 40-year prison sentence without the possibility of parole, thereby avoiding the death penalty. In the summer of 1998, 2 years after the murder, James agreed to this deal. Under the terms, he was not required to disclose any details of the crime. However, James stated that part of his decision stemmed from a desire to spare Jessica's family the pain of going through a public trial. The prosecution believed that James' 911 call was evidence of remorse, while the true purpose of the call remained unclear. They argued that James might have been trying to alleviate his feelings of guilt. However, Jessica's parents were dissatisfied with the plea deal. They had hoped for the death penalty and a full confession from the perpetrator. But James remained silent. In the end, James didn't live long enough to serve his full sentence. He passed away in November 2011, at the age of 49, due to health issues. The details of his actions and the motives behind Jessica's murder were buried with him. Jessica's case not only shocked the public, but also became a unique example in criminal investigation history. The way experts and detectives analyzed seemingly trivial details, like the trash bags, to uncover clues, astonished even the judge. He admitted that, throughout his career, he had never seen evidence like this before. Feel free to share your thoughts on this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.